There we go. We're live. Right? Yes. Yes, we are. Rumble's being a piece of crap right now, so we're not gonna. I'm forgetting Rumble. Who cares about Rumble? Um. Yeah. Hello. Anyone watching the VOD or the what do you call it? Wait. Let me actually start the other one. And then we're gonna start freaking only you, because we don't. Twitch is for anyone that's watching this, remember to do just do this, like and subscribe and comments are great too. Thank you very much. Okay, so Kick is the only one that we're gonna be live on. Kick and YouTube, because we don't care about the other ones. We're gonna be watching Destiny, and I don't think I can watch Destiny on Twitch because he's like banned on there. So yeah. But yeah, I wanted to watch. I just came from work. I'm tired. No gameplay footage because whatever. We're just gonna watch this because I need some new content for the other channel. So I might as well stream it, right? Usually I just record it and then chop it up, upload it. But this time I set the streaming thing up, so let's just stream it. Why not? So yeah, and Rumble's being a big piece of crap right now. I'm really actually kind of annoyed. Twitch, I don't really care, but it's kind of bothering me, I'm not gonna lie. Also, I got food, so camera's gonna disappear because I like eating with my mouth open. So and I know that's not pleasant to watch. So bye. Let's just watch.
I wanted to talk about the one called Hassan's horrible response and his radicalized audience.
Okay.
Yeah, that so there was a few points you made in there that I didn't
we don't care about.
But just to put all my
The result of Gideon's finding. We agree on those three.
So for the first,
I think today.
oh, hello.
Video about that. Just
All right, so this guy comes in.
All right, so and then Gideon comes to the conclusion like I cannot put that connotation on this town. But
There we go.
Oh, hello.
Oh man, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Okay, what was our last point / question / thing?
Okay.
Oh yeah, literally, it's Destiny. I completely forgot to mention this. I guess whenever I say stuff, I'll bring myself back up. But we'll just go here. Yeah. But we're basically watching Destiny gets blindsided. You guys can't see that. There we go. Destiny gets blindsided after conceding point in good faith Israel debate. Yeah, so that's what we're watching.
So before we
2 hours long, so I'm not sure how long I'm gonna do this for, but
just to kind of
I
want to
got myself some
agree
pizza.
on a few things before
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Before you disagree with me on any of these things, I'm just going to list them out, and then you can fight me on any of them.
Okay.
First, Palestine is a state, as recognized by, I think, to date, 139 countries, based on the 67 borders. Like, it's a state. The second one is occupation since 67 of the West Bank.
Is it though?
Is illegal.
Is it though?
Third one is the settlements in the occupation, mainly in the West Bank now, are illegal. And yeah, those are the main ones. So do we agree on those three?
So for the first one, I would say absolutely not. The idea that Palestine exists and is like universally recognized as having like 67 borders, I don't think that can just be asserted. I think that's argued for. For the occupation since 67 of the West Bank and Gaza is illegal. I don't know like what illegal by what standard, I would have to ask. And then the settlements in the occupation are illegal. I'm also not sure like illegal by what standard. I don't know. When we say illegal.
Okay, so I agree with Destiny's framing on this. And I really, first off, Destiny's just putting notes. Like the moment this guy says stuff, he immediately types it down. That's crazy. He's a very, very phenomenal note taker. Like, I could not do that. I really couldn't. I admire Destiny for that. But secondly, yeah, there we go. But secondly, I like his Destiny's framing on like the whole border thing. Like, it's not, it's definitely contested. Like, there's arguments around Palestine being like a thing, but um, I wouldn't outright say that it's 100% like clear. It's not like they're on the map. Like, this is, everyone agrees upon that this is like a state and stuff like that. No, there's arguments around it, and there really is no government like running them, like a legitimate government running them right now. So how could you say like they're an actual like state if there really isn't a government like running them? So like, because for them to be like their own thing, don't they have to have like their own government to control what they do? Or they're just a bunch of people, random people that just are in like little towns and they all kind of do their own thing. They're not all like together and stuff like that. They kind of need a government to like, for society to be like, or for the rest of the world to be like, oh yeah, this is the government. That's the leader of all them, of all the people that are there. But it's very wishy-washy. But there's a good argument for and against, and I guess that's all I have to say about that.
Legality,
Okay.
I'm curious what we're appealing to here. Yeah.
So for legality, I would say the legal occupation, I believe it's resolution 3314, that kind of outlines how it's illegal. I can send you a link if you would like.
Does a UN resolution confer legality or illegality of a given action, or is this just condemnation by UN members?
I do not think this is just condemnation, but
Where is it? Also, real quick, you said it was resolution 3314.
yes.
Maybe
And
a different
I mean,
number, or
yeah,
or am I? Hold on, maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing. Hold on.
I can send you a link if you would like. And the part I'm referring to, it says reaffirming also that the territory of a state shall not be violated by being the object, even temporarily, of military occupation or of measures of force taken by another state.
Oh, okay. Why is this formatted so fucking weird?
There's a lot of silence in Dead Space in this, but it's all right. I can edit it out.
Okay,
I guess by illegal, I mean consensus, world consensus. Maybe I shouldn't say illegal, but the world consensus is that Palestine is a state.
I like how this guy literally just starts, like, he has 3 main points, right? And then he starts to just concede, like, then Destiny kind of like writes down the 3 points that he said in the beginning, and then Destiny like basically knocks one by one to make them not really like delete them, but make like give a counterpoint or make it a little bit more fair. Like his points were kind of a bit over the top, too biased on one side, or maybe that's not the way to put it, but whatever. But now I like how he's conceding, like after the beginning of the entire argument, he's like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And now he's like, maybe I shouldn't have used that other word. And I'm like, okay, all right, I guess keep conceding.
Is recognized by a lot of countries.
I guess I can see what you're trying to construct here. I mean, I guess I could buy it if you want, but I think it holds no weight. It influences no argument if this is how we're doing our definitions.
It's fine. That's fine. I'm just saying that there's an occupation. Like, we don't even have to call it illegal. There's an occupation if you're fighting against the illegal part.
Mm-hmm.
And the settlements, I believe, are clearly illegal, as agreed on almost everybody.
Clearly illegal. I wouldn't say clearly illegal, but they're definitely not supposed to be there. Or there's definitely something wrong about them being there. Like, it's kind of dumb. Or, okay, I won't speak to that because I'm not 100% sure why everyone's really... I have a tiny... I don't have enough of an idea of why it's like a really dumb idea or bad idea. But there's like arguments on like, well, there's already people there, really going to kick all of them out after they started developing and stuff and like that. And that's it's kind of hard to, like, now that they're there, you can't just like, all right, bye. It's just all the houses and stuff that you built here. Well, you should have been here in the first place. Like that, I don't think that's like the way to do it. So.
And you can refer to, I think there's a resolution 2334 for that one.
You said 254?
When it comes to the settlements.
2334.
2334. Okay, hold on.
And like we can disagree with what's written in Geneva Conventions, international law, UN resolutions, but that's not what I'm trying to like. You can disagree with their conclusions, but you know it is what it is.
Sure. Hold on. Yeah, I probably wouldn't even necessarily disagree with like the opinions and everything stated, but it's just especially now as international law gets brought up, if we say something's like legal or illegal, I'm just trying to have an understanding
forget
of, like,
those words.
Illegal or
yeah,
illegal,
say,
but like
wrong or like it shouldn't be happening. I probably
by who? Illegal or illegal by who? The international law. Yeah, I sort of listened to a little bit of this, and well, they're gonna say international law from like the UN or something like that. United Nations, and then I'm not on the screen. And then I think it like goes to the point of like basically shoot, what was, all right, we'll just play it because like we'll eventually get to that part.
I agree with you on this. Yeah.
Okay, sure. And I think the Fourth Geneva Convention also prohibits the transfer of civilians from an occupying territory to the occupied territory, Article 49. But
Okay.
Anyway, I think you don't really heavily disagree on these points.
Not in terms of like what's right or wrong or anything. Probably not. No, I don't think so.
Okay. I also, are you familiar with resolution? I know this is the last one I throw at you, 194, in regards to specifically the refugee problem.
Let me check.
It's a pretty important one just to keep in mind if you're going to.
The United Nations General Assembly adopts Resolution 194, resolving that refugees wishing to return to their homes and live at peace with their neighbors should be permitted to do so at the earliest practicable date, and that compensation should be paid for the property of those choosing not to return or for loss of damaged property, under which principles of international law equity should be made good by the governments or authorities responsible. Sure.
Okay. Okay, like we can talk about how practical that is or not, but it's there. Okay. So first, I saw a tweet of yours the other day, and I want to know if you were just like trolling or you believe that. So let me look up that tweet. You pretty much said something like Palestinians just like always walk away from deals and are influenced by like terrorist orgs or something like that.
Yeah.
Isn't that true though?
So can you give me the list of deals that the Palestinians have walked away from?
The big ones that I'm most familiar with are going to be the Camp David Accords. No,
Sure.
it's the
And
Camp
also-
David Summit, and then Arafat's negotiating past that are the big ones that I'm familiar with. You could arguably say the partition plan of 47, although you could argue maybe they didn't have good reason to accept that. And then for like terrorist orgs, I would say definitely from like the 60s and onwards, I think the Palestinians have been more concerned with like fighting for like an entire state than trying to negotiate any sort of two-state solution. Yeah.
So when you say that, we need to look at the evidence. Like, let's start with each one, right? You said 47.
You know, after hearing all that, for him to say that just like that right after Destiny saying all that, it implies that what Destiny's saying is like not giving all the context when he is. And or maybe he isn't, but like it's not like he's misrepresenting the argument. Like it feels like, all right, let's keep going.
I agree that there was no good reason to accept that. You can look at that as.
Well, I wouldn't say there was no good.
Wait, let's go back a little
We
bit.
need to look at the evidence. Like, let's start with each one, right? You said 47. I agree that there was no good reason to accept that. You can look at that as.
Well, I wouldn't say there was no good
rejecting.
reason to accept that, but I can understand them not accepting it.
Sure. I would start with Oslo. that's fine with you in terms of like real peace attempt,
Sure.
or do you think there was others before them that were missing?
Let's see. Let me think.
Because I know the Madrid conference kind of led to Oslo, and but prior to that, I don't think there was any even recognition of like.
Let's see. I think it's 74. I think 74 is when the observer status was granted to Arafat and the PLO for Palestine to be able to talk at the UN.
I don't know. Okay, yeah, I don't know what that means, because I know in 2012 there was they were recognized as a state, but maybe they recognized them as just like the voice of the Palestinians. I don't know.
Yes, that's what I mean. Like, I think that was the first time Palestinians had a voice.
Yo, just take a second to admire all the notes this guy did, man. That's insane. This is his notepad. This is Destiny's knowledge of just going over and taking notes and reading that entire like couple of I think, well, he's still doing the Israel-Palestine stuff, but I think in the beginning he's just started with just constant like super, what was I gonna say, like really, like he started like really far back and just hardcore, like I think he Adderalled the entire thing, but like he was doing like 11 like from like 8 to 11-hour day streams of just pure reading, and that's insane, and just note taking. Like this is where all these notes are coming from, and I'm never gonna do that in my life, never. But I respect Mr. Destiny here for doing that.
It was written at
So I don't
November
have to.
1947. I mean, we can check what this means. Do you
I
know what this
accept
is?
that.
Okay. Granted, observer. Yeah, I don't think they were like, I don't think they were recognized as a state or anything like that, but at the very least, the PLO had a seat for observer status.
agree.
So that yeah, okay, so
Oh, okay. So
Representative.
this is what, 1974. Okay, so they're not a state. They weren't considered a state back in 1974.
The Palestinian people. Okay,
That's
yeah, that makes
basically
sense.
the.
let me see.
what
I'm
they
just
were
trying to think of like where
contesting this
any other
entire time.
two-state or any other peace with Palestinian peoples thought of post. My guess would be nobody's really thinking about that at all until post 73. My guess is going to be that. Okay, I'm just going to talk a bunch and cut me off if you think I'm wrong at some point. In 48, Palestinians are not looking to be recognized as a state. They're trying to expel the Jewish people from Israel because they don't want to ever separate that.
I disagree.
What?
I disagree. I think Jews lived in Palestine, and Arabs there weren't trying to expel them.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about all the new ones that showed up, right?
Okay, yeah, just the Europeans. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Well,
they wouldn't have won.
I
Which,
think
which would
the
have been like
distinction-
90% of the Jews at that, or 95% probably the Jews there at that point would have been from Europe, right?
Sure, but I wanted to push back because this isn't like a Jewish thing. It's a European, colonizing thing.
I agree with you.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
it feels weird to say Israelis because
It's a Jewish thing. That's a weird phrasing.
So in 47, 48, obviously they're not looking for two states. In the 6-Day War in 67, they're not looking for two states. They're still trying to push them out.
Agreed.
For Yom Kippur, they're obviously not looking for two states. They're looking to push them out. And then
Wait. 73. I don't know if Egypt's goal was to push them out as it was to like kind of get their shit back. We can talk about that in more detail. I don't think it's super relevant, but I don't think there was an attempt at two states between Palestine and Israel at that time. So at least that we could probably agree on. I think that didn't start until, like you said, the PLO was recognized as a speaker in 74. And then the first real peace attempt at the Madrid conference in 91 led to Oslo in 93.
Sure, yeah. I'm just trying to think of like what Palestinian attitude and surrounding states' attitudes would have been. And in 73, it was still very, 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 very hostile towards Israel.
I mean,
so I don't
yeah,
think people
yeah.
are thinking at the same, like, okay, we're going to Yom Kippur, we're going to get them on this day, and then afterwards maybe we can negotiate too. Like, that's not, like at that point, Egypt, I agree with you. Well, no, hold on. I'll say this. If they would have won harder in Yom Kippur, if they had the opportunity to conquer the entire state of Israel, they would have, right? Do we agree with that?
Maybe, yeah, I would agree with that. And like as the Arab states as a whole, you're saying during 67, or sorry, during Yom Kippur.
Yeah, 73 they would have, yeah, but they obviously
they would have taken it over. I would push back on they're gonna expel the Jews argument. I would say maybe,
So his whole point is basically like the only reason Destiny is somewhat wrong is that what Destiny is basically saying is a little bit hyperbolic. I hit the mic, sorry. Just a little bit hyperbolic, and that's why I'm like, okay, sure, fine, but that doesn't change my opinion, and certainly doesn't change Destiny's.
Because at that point, I don't know what the percentage of the Jews in Israel were.
I would say that at this point,
Ashkenazi versus.
I would say that at this point there is enough like global violence against Jewish people from Arab states as a result of Israel's victories in prior wars.
It would have been bad. It would have been bad. It would have been bad. I don't know. I don't know if there would be like a mass expulsion. I
also
don't
really you're still in Yom Kippur. I don't even think you're 30 years away yet from like the Nakba, right? So the idea that, and we've got pogroms across every Arab state following the 48 victory, following the 67 victory. If the Arabs would have conquered all of Israel, I think there'd be a big expulsion. I think it would happen.
You're narrativizing this a lot.
What part of that do you disagree?
I don't think that every Arab state.
How is he How is what Destiny said not true? Like, he said he's narrativizing. That's not really an argument. That's just an ad hominem. Like that. Like, he's trying to discredit what Destiny's saying, but by not really saying anything. By calling him he's narrativizing. Like, he's biased. Destiny's just biased. That's why he's saying that. And I'm like, what Destiny's saying is not false. Wait, let me go back 2 seconds.
This.
The 48 victory, following the 67 victory. If the Arabs would have conquered all of Israel, I think there'd be a big expulsion. I think it would happen.
You're narrativizing this.
He's speculating. And honestly, that's some good speculation because guess what happened in October 7th or October 6th? Guess what happened? Oh, something really bad happened. Really, really bad happened. An Arab state or a bunch of Arab people decided to delete and kidnap some people from Israel, and not just like normal like soldiers and stuff like that. The government, nah, it's just civilians, women, kids. They didn't really care. They just went in, took them out, and did some deleting, did some other things towards the females of those citizens that didn't do anything to them, because most of them were really young. So I highly doubt they had any, they did anything to them. So, or at least the younger people that. But you get my point. So like, Destiny's speculating, but there's some really good evidence to that speculation. What just happened recently, to why that's probably what could be true, to how Destiny was for the speculation that Destiny's doing. He says narrativizing, but like it's not like he's pulling that out of his. It's not like Destiny's pulling that out of his butt cheeks, you know. Like there's actually like some things going on today that kind of warrants that speculation on Destiny's part. But continue.
This a lot.
What part of that do you disagree?
I don't think that every Arab state expelled Jews. I don't think that's a factual statement.
I don't think he ever said that.
Find me examples of where that.
All right, I'm back. Give me 2 seconds.
That happened, but I think there's other examples where that did not happen. So
sure.
Well, I'm gonna have to cut this short.
Every Arab state.
Yeah, if you want, we can go back
bit.
and look. But my understanding is that yes, in every single Arab state, there is a mass there was like a mass departure of Jewish people. In response,
Departure, I agree. Push and pull, as Benny Morris kind of cites, that happened, and I don't doubt that there was a lot of violence post 48 against Jews in those Arab countries. I don't want us to be like super like blanket statements like that. Like, okay.
Well, sure, but I'm guessing you would make a super blanket statement about Al Nakba, right? That was just a mass expulsion.
I think probably 95% were expelled, and 5%, or I would say 95% were expelled or were fleeing violence.
Well, hold on. Yeah. Because
that sounds more of like a cope, because like he doesn't want Destiny. He had a problem. Like technically, Destiny wasn't wrong, but it's like a blanket statement. That was the problem that he had. And then when Destiny's like, well, if you want to do a blanket statement, you would probably say this too. Now he's like, well, I guess 95%, 5%. That's basically saying that it's a blanket statement, but sure.
that second part is really important, because from the Nakba, my understanding is maybe 10 to 15% were actually expelled tops. I think, but like
no, that's not right.
So hold on. When I say expel, I mean like Jews going into the village and like kicking them out or destroying the village or whatever. My understanding is the majority of those 50% plus left because they heard of violence in other villages and they were like, we need to get the fuck out because Jewish people are about to come fuck all of our shit up. Is that not true? I'm curious.
A large portion did flee violence, like you say. I would
wait. When you say large, quantify, because my understanding.
Yeah. So what Destiny's saying is true. He's just saying, no, but there was violence and you are basically true. It's just that he wants to characterize it his way instead of like the way that Destiny's characterizing it. But they're basically saying the same thing. It's just semantics at this point.
I think it's 50% plus they fled because they were worried that they were going to get fucking.
Let's say 50% for argument's sake. I'm not like it's 50%. Let's just say that. So
sure. Okay.
Are you saying that? Are you fine with saying 50% got expelled? In that case, like I know we don't have the exact numbers. I don't know if that's true either. So it doesn't. At the
end of the Nakba, it was over 700,000 Palestinian Arabs were displaced ultimately from where they had resided. That's a huge number. We're over 300,000. Like actually, they went into villages. That's just so many people.
Dude, Ramle and Lid alone, those two villages that are near Jerusalem, a little bit west of Jerusalem, were completely expelled, and they were like 60 to 70,000 people. Like that's 10% alone. That's why I don't want to say, oh, only 10% were expelled. Like those two where they were like essentially death march towards the Jordanian army is already 10%. So if we're gonna go to every single
hold on, can you link me that story or whatever? Death march to the Jordanian army?
Ramle and Lid expulsion. Let me see if there's a Wikipedia article on this. This could be from some like book that I've read, to be fair.
I'm gonna speed through this a little bit because they're gonna do some research. Yeah, just reading, going by five.
My bad. Okay. I didn't know about this particular marching event. I will say if 700,000 plus were ultimately displaced, 50 to 70,000 residents in this town technically still fits within my estimate. I don't know how many other explosions occurred, but okay, sure. I don't. Maybe it doesn't change any of our arguments significantly much, but like the majority, initially you were like the Jews weren't mass expelled. They were.
So I stopped you. I stopped you at saying 10% or 10%, and I'm saying like this is an example of at least 10% from like this one example.
Oh, wait, hold on, wait. To be clear, this is an example of at most 9.5%, not at least 10%. It's at most 9.5%, right? Because the outcome this is 50 to 70,000 residents who, and this even says fled from or were expelled by the IDF, and the total number of expulsions was 711,000 by the end.
Yeah, but this is one village. Like this is just two cities within Israel proper. We're not even looking at every other. So that's why I'm saying at least 50 to 70,000 people.
Sure, but I'm guessing this is probably like the largest one, right?
This is the largest like one-time one for sure. But I think we're getting into like...
Yeah, I agree. It could be 20, it could be 30% of people were expelled. It could be 40% of people were expelled. But
yeah, sure, I don't think it changes the argument in any way that there was an expulsion and there was like people running away.
No, we don't disagree on that though. But what I'm taking issue with is you saying that all the Jews that left all the Arab countries after the first and second Arab-Israeli war, to say that that was just them immigrating to Israel because they thought it was cool, I don't think that's fair either.
No, no, no. I think a lot of them left fleeing violence.
Okay.
100%.
Oh, okay. Then what do we disagree on?
I'm just saying, I don't think there was like a policy where Arab countries, and maybe there's some Arab countries like Egypt did this, but I don't think, like, let's say Morocco had an explicit policy of expelling Jews. I think them fearing persecution, escaping, but I also believe that some countries, like, they weren't fearing persecution.
I don't know too much about this, so I can't contest the little tiny, like the semantical points that when they go deep into this thing, I can't. It's too esoteric for me. But I have listened to a good portion of Destiny's streams when he was doing the research, so I have a tiny bit of knowledge, and I just love Destiny. I've been watching almost every single video that he does about any debate that he has with I think he had a debate with his chef about the Hamas thing, Israel Hamas, and then he had like little skirmishes with like other people that would just join his Discord. That's just interesting. I like watching that type of stuff. But that's basically where most of my knowledge is coming from. So, and just listening to the same points over and over again, it's everything's starting to kind of click a little bit. But I don't really have too much information, and honestly, I don't care too much to dive deep or as deep as Destiny did. But I care. I like watching Destiny, and it's fun watching him tear apart points and stuff like that. So yeah, that's why I'm watching this.
And getting programs. Like, it didn't happen in every single Arab country.
Can you give me an example?
Some Arab countries.
Yeah, can you give me an example of one you think where it didn't happen, and then we can look it up. I'm curious, because my understanding was it was basically ubiquitous across the Arab world.
I mean, we can look up the Exodus in general, the 800,000 Exodus. Like, there's a Wikipedia article on the Exodus, and it kind of covers every single every country, and not every Arab country is listed in that
Jewish
list.
Exodus, not from fucking Egypt. What would I be? Arab is. I gotcha.
Expel Jews.
Read, okay. See, Exodus by country.
Whenever he's reading stuff, I just want to skip.
Single my state that I'm trying to think of that.
I think that a lot of them were, again.
Sure, but I can't think of a single Arab state that I'm trying to think of that wouldn't have had violence against Jewish people. My understanding is pogroms were basically ubiquitous after 48 and after 67 because people were so mad at the wars going on in the Middle East.
Look, if you can show me pogroms every single Arab country where Jews existed, I have no problem conceding that point. Look, if you have evidence for any of this stuff, dude, I will switch my thinking. No problem. I'm not
sure. I mean, I guess we can. Stance. Yeah, I mean, we can start. I mean, we can think of every Arab country and just go country by country. I guess we got to start in the Middle East, right? So.
Oh, okay. All right. No wonder this thing was 2 hours long.
Because it's going to take some time.
Sure.
What are you arguing
some
that I
time?
disagree with?
That's the understatement of
yeah,
being
my
here,
understanding
man.
is that I guess if you want, I could say not every Arab country, but like 95% of them. I don't know of any Arab countries.
And for anyone that's listening, this entire thing is like 2 hours and 27 minutes and 51 seconds long, man. That's crazy.
It was like, even though, like, I think here's what I would feel like would be the case. I could be wrong, by the way. I feel like if there was like 1 or 2 Arab countries where it's like the Jews here were actually like pretty chill and nobody cared, then I feel like, oh, okay, that would have stuck out to me. But I felt like after 48 and after 67, it was basically like ubiquitous that every Arab country started to experience violence against Jews, pogroms, and then the Jewish people, obviously they saw, Israel, and they're like, fuck this, we're just going to leave, this sucks. And then they started fleeing.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what I would say, and I think we can both agree on, is post 48 and post the expulsion / flee of the Palestinians from.
So basically, none of the Arab states, Destiny's point or Destiny's claim or point, and I kind of agree, is that all of the Arab states, I guess after that time base that he mentioned, I forget. Well, you can just rewatch the thing. Like after all that, I think that's like none of the Arab states like just left the Jewish people alone in their own. Like the Jewish people that were living in the other Arab states, they didn't leave them alone. None of them did, and that's why they ended up all flocking to Israel, because like they were all like just. Well, exactly what Destiny said. And that's basically his point, and I somewhat agree. I can only say somewhat because I don't know too much about this, but I know enough where I'm like, that's true. sounds like that's legit. It sounds correct. So opinion
From,
formed.
the region.
Not really the most educated
There's a lot of
opinion,
violence
but
against
it's better
Jews
than most
in
people.
the
It's
Arab
like,
world,
no one really
which
pays attention to this stuff in the US, honestly. Or enough people pay attention to it, but like when I talk to people in real life, they're like, Israel, Palestine, what? They're like, oh, I saw a TikTok on it, and that was it. So, and that's like the majority of the people that I'm surrounded with. So that's the extent of their knowledge. Kind of
led
sucks
to
because I can't argue with
a
people.
lot of them fleeing to Israel.
IRL.
I think we can just agree on that statement. I don't know if it's necessary to go into like exact semantics for how many in which countries. Like obviously there was violence in like 50-51, and obviously a lot of them fled. There were some pull factors, right, that Benny Morris talks about, but there was some shift in population due to violence. I'm happy to concede that point, so we can just move on.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, so I don't know where
Well, he conceded the point. Wow. Okay.
we were talking about Oslo and jumped to this, but do you believe that Oslo was undermined by the Palestinians, or it didn't work out because of the Palestinians or because of the Israelis, or both?
I'm leaning towards both.
I don't know the Oslo Accords.
Okay.
I don't know what that is. But I've heard him say it multiple times.
So
I don't know the
think
time frame
Palestinians
or
are at
anything.
fault for the end of Oslo. So
Something here. This is my intuition right now, and I could be. It's just an intuition. I could definitely be persuaded. It feels like I'm trying to think. 93 was Rabin, right?
93 was, I believe, Rabin. Yes.
Yes.
I
Okay.
think he
So
got
Oslo Accords under Rabin.
or killed because of Oslo.
From 95 to 2000. Was that Sharon, or was that Netanyahu's first turn?
I think Sharon came in 2001. I think Ehud Barak was right before Sharon.
Israeli prime ministers. Let me look up the dates on this. Let me just hold on. Wait, Reagan. Okay. And then Barak was for a term was earlier. My bad. This was earlier. Reagan. Okay. All right. Netanyahu's first term was from 96 to 99. And then Barak was for a couple years, and then after that we've just been fucked. Okay. Okay. So from my reading and the vibes, that I have is that Netanyahu
Destiny's
didn't
vibes
really
right here.
want peace
Destiny's
to
vibes
work.
from
He
eating
didn't
pizza
really
song.
want any
not
of those
on.
negotiated things to work. So like the Oslo Accords, he was like not a
Agreed.
big fan of them. However, when I'm pretty sure that if we go to from 96 to 98 or 96 to 99, if you look at the amount of settlement expansion in the West Bank, I think it slowed down dramatically. Even under Netanyahu, I believe that process was still happening. That's one number that I remember. We can go and look up that specifically. So even though Netanyahu might not have wanted it to happen, because secretly he's like, fuck the Palestinians, I hate these motherfuckers.
Wait a second. Netanyahu? All right. So for the little bit of knowledge that I have about Mr. Netanyahu, or however you say his name, the emperor, the person that's in charge of Israel, I forget what he's called. All I've heard is that everyone hated him. Like all the Palestinians hated him. But this is like new information for me. Like, wait a second. Netanyahu slowed down that, and why is if that's true, and maybe it's not true, maybe there's some sort of caveat, but like if that's true, that just makes all the people that are like saying Netanyahu is like this terrible person and is one of the worst prime ministers of like Israel. And I'm like, wait a second, if he's the worst and he's the one that slowed down the whole like terrible thing that I guess both sides, or at least Destiny concedes to the new settlements being pushed into the West Bank is like a bad thing. If he believes that, right? Or I guess Destiny's like some sort of Zionist or whatever, or he has I don't know. I don't think he's a Zionist, but I think he's called himself like he has like pro-Israel. He's pro-Israel. Yeah, he's definitely said that he's pro-Israel. But like, if he's gonna be thinking that, then how? And Netanyahu is supposed to be like this terrible person. Like everyone kept on trashing him all the time, all the pro-Palestinian people, and I kind of just assumed, oh, I guess this Netanyahu was like this terrible guy. I just assumed that. But if that's true, that kind of breaks down that argument. Like Netanyahu just doesn't care about the Palestinians and stuff like that. I'm like, okay. And so what if Netanyahu secretly just doesn't want to do that, but he ended up doing it anyways? Doesn't that make him a better person because he knows what the right thing to do, but he's not going to let his own personal bias like dictate what he does, or at least he's not going to let it just do it easy, like freely, right? Or maybe the conspiracy theory is like, oh no, if Netanyahu just couldn't do it because it would just look bad or something like that, not because he actually cared about them. But that's more of a conspiracy theory than an actual claim, I guess. Whatever. Let's keep going.
Fuckers, it still basically was
Go back a little bit.
Netanyahu. I believe that process was still happening. That's one number that I remember. We can go and look up that specifically. So even though Netanyahu might not have wanted it to happen, because secretly he's like, fuck the Palestinians, I hate these motherfuckers, it still basically was. But my understanding is that like Arafat was like intentionally sabotaging it and didn't want anything to be permanently settled. So whereas Netanyahu might have passively been like, fuck this, whatever, you know, we're doing this shit. Arafat was like, oh no, absolutely fuck this, we're gonna fight. That was my understanding of this. So I would say both are kind of sort of at fault, but if both of them would have acted like Netanyahu, it probably would have been okay. But Arafat is the one that's like tanking a lot of these deals. I could be heavily aggressing against Arafat right now in an unfair way as well. Maybe there's better stuff out there that I haven't seen of him, so, but okay.
Yeah, I would say you're absolutely, like, you have a narrative, and I think you're sticking to it. So I want to push back on that narrative.
Yeah, go for it.
One, both.
Just remember, he has a counter narrative, so it's not like if Destiny didn't have a narrative, I guess technically he wouldn't be saying anything, right? The other guy has a counter narrative, which is like his own thing, his own narrative, and that's the thing he wants to push. And Destiny is like, well, that doesn't really line up with my narrative, so he's gonna push back. And Destiny does a really good job at making him concede a lot of points, which is breaking down his the other guy, not Destiny's narrative, but breaking down the other guy's narrative, because he keeps on conceding to like all the little criticism that Destiny keeps on putting in so far in this entire I guess exchange, or this little debate, I guess you could call it that. So I forget if I'm gonna add more to this point, but that's basically it. I don't know why I made my screen bigger.
Before, during.
Yeah. Oh, so like the whole point is that he's gonna call like Destiny's narrative, and it's not like, I don't know. Maybe it triggers me a little bit because whenever someone points that out, it sometimes just discredits, or it seems to discredit the other person. Like, oh, you don't really care. You're just trying to push a narrative. Like that's why I'm like, sure, he is pushing a narrative, but you are also doing the same thing. And it seems like Destiny's narrative is a little bit more correct, because you keep trying to Destiny pokes holes in the other guy's narrative, and he ends up conceding some of his narrative and like winding down some of the points. So far, I think Destiny only like wind back like maybe 1 point, or it was just a little too hyperbolic. And I think that was it. But well, we're only like 30 minutes in though, so I'm not 100%. I think there's one narrative is a little bit more true than the other. Let's just say that's all I wanted to say.
And after also, the building of Israeli settlements in the West Bank never stopped. To me, that alone undermined the entire peace process. Because if you're planning on withdrawing at some point, as agreed on, from Area C, you wouldn't be continually building settlements. And I can tell you the consensus at that time, the consensus in the Arab world was like, these motherfuckers
Here's a side point. Unrelated. I mean, no, related, but not about the whole Israel thing. Like, it's kind of weird. Like, I live in an area where there's a lot of Hasidics, right? I don't mind them, but they build and expand like constantly. Like every time I pass by there, there's always a new house, there's always a new complex, there's always a new building. They keep going. They're expanding. These guys they don't stop. Like I was looking over the hill, and there's this, like, I went to like this location. I'm being super vague on purpose. I went to this location, and there was, oh yeah, remember to yeah, do what's on screen. Yeah, like and subscribe over there. Yeah, thank you very much. Comments are great too. Thank you very much. But there was this hill. Like I was going to a Best Buy, and then there was like this hill, and then around that Best Buy, there's like what do you call it? There was this like a highway, and then there's like a hill at the other side of the highway. There was nothing there but trees. And then one day, I look across that highway, and I see a bunch of new buildings. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I live very, very where I'm at is very close to where these there are a bunch of these Hasidics live, and it just keeps growing. It just keeps growing. And I'm like, damn, these guys know how to they just keep expanding. So seeing how that there's like they keep building stuff in like the West Bank and stuff like that, I'm like, I think this is a genetical thing, because they love doing it. They all love doing it. Grow and expand and don't stop. They just keep going. They don't stop. I just found that like funny, because like I just remembered that.
The fuckers
whatever. Let's keep
are
going.
trying to make peace with us, but they keep building in our land. How does that make any sense? And that's what gave power.
Wait. Let's be
like
real quick. Let's be very clear here. When we talk about settlements, are you talking about like brand new settlements, or are you talking about like construction within settlements?
So if you go to the Oslo Accords Wikipedia page, and you just look through continued settlement expansion. Before Oslo, 91 to 92, 13,960. After Oslo, 94, 95, it was 3,840.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, thank you. Yeah, so these numbers are what I was talking about before. Yes. So these aren't new settlements. These are constructions within settlements, right?
But Destiny, this completely undermines the perceived plan to eventually withdraw. It makes absolutely no sense. It's like we're deciding on splitting a pizza, but you still keep eating a part of mine. Like, part of my half. It makes no sense, and it undermines it. I agree with you on one thing. I think Ehud Barak absolutely wanted peace. I think Netanyahu absolutely did not want peace. I think Ariel Sharon.
And the reason is about a terrible, terrible, disgusting analogy is because there is no giant pizza being fought over in the Middle East. Obviously. Zero sarcasm here.
Well, yeah, wait. Let's be very clear here. We can just read this paragraph. We can dig more into this if you want to, okay? While Perez had limited settlement construction at the request of the U.S. Secretary of State, Madeleine Albright, Netanyahu continued construction within existing Israeli settlements and put forward plans for the construction of a new neighborhood, Har Homa in East Jerusalem. However, he fell far short of the Shamir government's 91 to 92 levels and refrained from building new settlements, although the Oslo Agreement stipulated no such ban. So, in terms of building new settlements, even under Netanyahu, my understanding is that didn't happen. And then when you look at, like, prior to the Oslo Accords, right, you had 14,000 new houses constructed from 91 to 92. After Oslo, in both years, even under Netanyahu, the number of new houses constructed in existing settlements fell to below 4,000. That's like a 60-70% reduction. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Wait, hold on.
The facts pro-Palestinians will never like hear, or never like say, or never even look up or look into. Wow. Okay. Or they would probably. I guess like. Literally what this guy's gonna be like, oh well, I guess Netanyahu was good. At least it's not like Netanyahu was like the worst person, right? Like I bet that's what the a pro-Palestinian argument would be like. Oh, I never said he's like the worst person like ever, right? Like there were worse people in the or like Netanyahu did do some good things for the Palestinians, right? but whatever. I feel like no one really hears this type of stuff, and these are the little tiny things that Destiny says, and I'm like, he looks it up, he finds this stuff out. Like, I thought Netanyahu was like the worst person. Honestly, I didn't really care for the guy, like, because all I heard was that, oh, it's all Netanyahu's fault. Oh, it's all Netanyahu's fault. Like, ever since like I was gonna say January, the October 7th or October 6th. Like whenever that happens, or 10/7 or 10/6. I like calling it October 7th or October 6th, like, because it's more impactful. Like, that was a terrible day, and I don't like how people, the pro-Palestinian people, they're like, well, that was a month ago, so like we need to, like, it just sounds like they're just downplaying what actually happened there, and what actually happened there was way worse than what Israel has been doing the like for the entire time here. Like, they're not indiscriminately taking hostages and deleting them and doing a lot of bad things to the females that isn't like deleting them, being vague on purpose, and then taking also children and like civilians. Like, no one, like, they weren't even trying to target people that were in, or they did a very poor job at targeting people from, oh no, they explicitly were trying to get civilians. They didn't care who they were. Like, all of them were technically like some sort of occupation or whatever, civilian or not. There's no such thing as a civilian in the in Israel, I guess. I think that was like their reasoning behind just taking anyone that they see when they came in and invaded in October 7th. But like, I don't like how people just downplay it, like as if it didn't really happen. Like, well, and like whenever we talk about, oh, what happened in October 7th, then they're like, oh, well, what happened like a couple years before that? And then it's like people want to, like, when we say like, well, what happened with October 7th, and then the proposal is, well, let's go back even further. But then why would we go back way further when Israel hasn't done anything close to what happened with what happened in October 7th? Like, unless there's something else that Israel did that's like exactly or at least comparable to what happened on October 7th, I don't really care about it, honestly. But then people are like, they want to talk about now, like October 7th was like a while ago, and like, let's talk about now, what's going on, like the ceasefire and everything like that. And I'm like, I don't think any of that I don't think that ceasefire nonsense should happen until like the people that did that terrible thing on October 7th are completely gone. Like, that's what needs to happen. Because if you just appease them, then like, well, let's just do some ceasefire. You're just basically like saying, if you do this and hide behind civilians long enough, they'll just say, all right, we'll just have a ceasefire, which is basically like saying, all right, Hamas, Hamas is gonna be like, oh, all right. So it seems like hiding behind civilians eventually made them look bad enough for where the U.S. and everyone's like hating them for like shooting. All right, well, I'm talking too much. Let's just keep going.
Hold on. Okay, so in 2 years, you said 14,000, and in 2 years, so it's not 1 year, and then 2 years after.
No. I'm sorry. No. From 91 to 92 is 1 year. It's 13,960 houses were constructed.
So 94 to 95 would be 1 year too, right?
Yep, 3,840, and then from 96 to 97 was 3,570. Yeah.
So you're saying they were just being less shitty during that time?
No, hold on. I'm saying there's one is.
All right, go on. Are you working? I think we're working. We better be working. We back? There we go. All right, we back? All right, we back. That was stupid. I didn't know the speed test was that itself would actually like delete my or at least make my. There we go. No? Yes? We back? Come on now. We should be back. Come on now. Work. All right, I'm just gonna assume we're back. Yeah, there we go.
Whether or not they even agreed to pull out, there were still things to be negotiated.
Shoot, I had a whole point and everything. I completely forgot. I'm gonna go back a little bit.
This isn't new housing, Destiny. This is illegal. Like, this is illegally building land on what you know is still being.
Who's narrativizing now? Got him. Debate over. I win. 100%.
Negotiated on.
Wait,
whether or not they even agreed to pull out, there were still things to be negotiated through.
Sure, hold on. Let's just so we can understand what we're talking about here. Cause I'm trying to make sure we're on the same page. If you have an area, okay, if you have, let's say we've got an area with four settlements, okay, in occupied territory. All right, we can either build a fifth new settlement. This would be building a new settlement, or we could build more houses in our current settlements. These are two different things. Do you acknowledge that, or is
absolutely.
this the same? Okay. So I
acknowledge they're. Yeah.
So
they are not the same, obviously. What, this guy's being bad faith right now. How is that the same? You're building within the place that's already been established. Like, the whole point is for, like, what? Come on now. That's a bad faith. This guy's being bad faith. Or maybe he seriously really does believe that, and I'm like, then he's just stupid, honestly. The other guy's just stupid.
There are no new settlements made post.
Yeah, they are not the same thing. No new settlements is a very, very good thing. Building within their own settlements and not expanding those settlements, specifically not expand. I think building a new settlement and expanding the current settlements, making them bigger, would be would be the same thing. But building within their already established settlements, versus building new ones. Well, I think building like a Palestinian no Palestinian is going to be affected by that. No Palestinian that doesn't live within the Israel, the settlements that are like the Jewish settlements within Gaza, is going to be affected by that. So I don't understand why he thinks those two things are the same thing. Because like the other guy's whole point is that building new settlements is bad because it's pushing out the Palestinians that already live there. But if Netanyahu is basically making it so that only the already established settlements are being made, that's not affecting like Palestinians that aren't in those settlements. But I don't think Palestinians would be in those settlements in the first place, or at least they would have left. So they're not moving or kicking out or doing anything to everyone. Like, that's the perfect compromise for people that are already there, that are already established. Like, those settlements are already established. Like, unless you want to go in and kick them out, and then those guys are gonna get butthurt, and then maybe they might do an October 7th to you guys, and you're like, oh, this is unjustified. But and then they would give you the same argument of like, oh, these guys, they took us over, they occupied the settlement that we already been here and stuff like that. And then the Palestinians would be arguing and giving the 10-year-old arguments of like, oh, well, but we were here first. Oh, we were here first. Like, that's just. Honestly, it doesn't really matter at this point who was here first or not. Like, you can go back in time to infinity and be like, well, technically no one was here first. The single-celled organisms were here first, so maybe we should let them have that. Like, that's just a dumb argument. You could just keep going back in time further and further and be like, who was here first or not? Like, that's a stupid argument.
Oslo Accords for several years. There were no new settlements, number one. And number two, even the amount of construction in existing settlements dramatically fell. It's not going to go to zero, right? They're probably still, if you've got an existing city, you're probably going to be renovating, bulldozing houses. You've got zoned for more houses or whatever. Like, it's probably not going to fall to zero. But the fact that this number fell from 14,000 per year about or whatever to under 4,000 per year shows that there was a dramatic decrease in construction within settlements, and no new settlements were being made, even under Netanyahu, right? That's what
I would push back in the whole.
And that's a good thing, because they used to be making new settlements. And then I guess you could argue, well, they shouldn't have been there in the first place. Well, guess what? They're there now. So we got to deal with what's going on now. So saying, oh, they never should have been there in the first place isn't going to fix the situation now. Like, saying that, I was like, oh, wow, look at that. You just won the argument. All right, so what do we do now? Well, we just kick them out like they did the Palestinians. And then if you do that, right? And if you do that, I'm not gonna correct myself. That did sound kind of weird, but whatever. But if they do that, how do you know that the people that were in those settlements aren't gonna get mad and do like their own like version of October 7th into their previously taken over settlement from the Palestinians, and just going in and doing that and then being like, oh, the Palestinians are occupying our settlements within an occupation. It's just that would be like occupationception there. We're just using their argument against them. And then they would probably argue, oh, I was here first. And then argument one, right?
Like, I agree, right? Housing units were being built. Still illegal. Like,
the Palestinians would say that to the... You know what? Whatever.
I think a
Well,
good
hold on, wait.
discussion
Or go
would
ahead,
stop building of new house. Like a good faith negotiation is stopping of building new houses. And the final point I'm actually trying to make here is not that.
That's not a good compromise. That's not a good, like the people that are already living there and that have been living there for a really long time now. Like they're not going to be like, oh, okay, well, I know my kids were just born and they have nothing to do with this, and they're kind of growing up to become adults and they're like in their teenage years. We just got to tell them, hey, we got to leave because apparently these guys didn't like a couple when we formed the settlement like a few decades ago, they didn't like that, so now we have to leave and give them back their land. Like that's just not gonna like just happen. Like everyone is not gonna be like, no, we're here, this is our home, I built this house, this is my house. Like you're not like, they're not gonna just be like, oh, well, guess we're leaving now. We put all our hard work into building all of this, like these settlements and everything around us and making it a thriving community. And we're just gonna get up and leave now because it's an occupation or whatever argument they want to say.
You know, there was I think there was just like
I don't like a good faith thing is just for them to leave. No, that's literally just what? Maybe in his perspective, but like in reality, that's just stupid. You have to negotiate. Like obviously they're not going to agree to this, and you obviously know why. So just to say that that's just some good faith thing to do for them to just get up and leave. Okay, he didn't say that verbatim, but like that's basically what he's arguing for. That's not a good faith way of doing this. Like you need to put their what do you call it? What's the word? Their concerns like in the negotiations as well. It can't just be all on one side. Like there needs to be like, they need to get something with it. If they can build within their own land that they've already, sure, they took it over, but they took it over. Like it's theirs now. They've been there for a while now, a good amount of time. So you kind of have to like concede a little bit. Like if they just came there like within the past, actually maybe some of the settlements were there in the past couple of years. Regardless, they're here now. You can't just kick them out. Or if you can, but then there's gonna be a massive backlash. And just don't. If you're gonna try and kick them out, don't make sure that they're not able to like send rockets into your own and delete you afterwards. So if you're gonna try and kick them out, just remember there's consequences to your actions.
Lack of agreement in this negotiation. So it wasn't the Arabs ever walking away and saying, "Fuck Israel, we don't want to make peace." That's what I'm saying. Because according to your tweet, Arabs have constantly walked away from negotiation table, and I'm trying to find
wait, let's go back. Okay, wait. Just on this particular argument, what I'm trying to show you is that, or what I'm attempting to argue for, is that even though Netanyahu secretly, or not secretly, openly was like, I don't want to do peace with the Palestinians, blah, blah, blah. It seems like his actions were still showing follow through on trying to maintain the Oslo Accords. He didn't try to disassemble the Palestinian Authority. He didn't try to take power back from them or anything. My understanding is that all that transference and everything was still happening, even under Netanyahu. Whereas on the PLO side, Arafat was consistently walking away from a more permanent deal at the end of Oslo. Because remember, Oslo was supposed to be temporary, right?
Which deal he walked away from at the end of Oslo? I'm very curious.
Sure. Fuck. Okay, I have to do better notes on this.
I feel like if you're pro-Palestine, you probably just don't know too much of the situation, because Destiny's just throwing out fact after fact after fact, and this guy's like, "Wait, what are you talking about?" And I'm like, "All right, that's just how you know when someone's, or at least maybe all the people that Destiny's been arguing with are just they just don't know all the things." But still, it's like this isn't the first time I'm hearing this. Also, I'm gonna have to go like right now too, so. I'm gonna remember to do a good old like and subscribe and comments are great too for anyone that's watching. But yeah, I'm gonna chop this up, throw it on my other channel. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great. But yeah, thanks for watching. But my final point is that it's funny. This is like a trend, a common trend. Destiny always be like literally talking to like pro-Palestinian people, and they end up just like Destiny just ends up like educating them because like they just don't know certain things. Like even for me, like I didn't know. I thought Netanyahu was like the worst thing, and like why did anyone like vote him in? But then now I'm hearing all this stuff about Netanyahu and how he didn't like this, but he still went with it anyways because he thought it was the right thing to do. And I'm like, or maybe that's like his actions. He obviously had Netanyahu obviously had his opinions, but his actions didn't really reflect his opinions, which is kind of like that's weird. That's kind of weird. Like for all the information that I had about Netanyahu being like this terrible person, that's not really. I don't think a terrible person would not act. I don't think. I think a terrible leader would act on his emotions. It seems like Netanyahu. There's some evidence of that not being the case. And with that point, I leave you with that. So yeah, thanks for watching. Stream's done.